Fine Wild Pack, it's Bernadette, and I'm here with your pick a card tarot reading for Monday, June. Why was I going to say June? I don't know, but it's May 17th, y'all, 2021. And I just have the pleasure of bringing you this message today. It's just so sweet and it's so gentle and it's so compassionate and it gives me all the feels. So here's the thing. So Alpaca has come out for you all today. And it's a really unusual message from Alpaca because just the energy that is flowing from them today. You know, Monday, it's your root chakra. The ruling planet is the moon, so it's already all about the feels. But when I was guided this morning to tap more into alpaca energy, I I I just was guided up to Machu Picchu and over to Peru and all of the ancient ties that this animal has over in that area of the world because alpacas are related to the camel family, and I want to say it was like 9 million years ago or some kind of crazy nonsense long time ago. Alpacas were discovered and they've descended again from the camel family, but they just their everything about their demeanor uh in the meditation that I had this morning. I've spent a fair amount of time around alpacas because I was convinced for a long time I was gonna have a farm and have alpacas. And I say farm, not like I would farm any animals, but a rescue of my own that was my own rescue. And I just love alpacas and llamas. And they are two different animals, just so you know. They have very similar roots, and one of the bigger differences is their sizes, but they have a lot of other differences. And so um, I know a fair amount about alpacas because I've been in love with them and llamas ever since I was a kid. So where I'm going with this is alpacas are very gentle, and I have experienced them to be very emotionally intelligent, responding very much like a dog would. And not like I like having animals to be trained or having them. I don't use the word own. They're My animals are my companions, and they've blessed me by being with me, choosing me to be their fur mom, all that kind of thing. uh, but unfortunately, alpacas are a rising pet in America because they are so trainable. One of the biggest things being that they tend to poo all in the same spot all the time, and it's how they've evolved to keep disease out of their herd. So that makes them super potty trainable in a number of different ways. I actually know a couple that has an alpaca, and that alpaca is trained for uses the ginormous puppy pee pads, but the really big ones, like for the biggest dogs. And I uh, I I don't recommend it. And that's one of the first things of this reading today, is that alpacas are herd animals, and a herd to an alpaca is 3 or 4 or more alpacas. Now, maybe they're okay with being part of a herd in a mostly human kind of herd, but I don't think so. I think they'd probably far rather be around their own kind. And so part of that is a big lesson for today, but in a very gentle and soft way, which is this: you may be called on to be part of a herd that you are okay with and that treat you pretty well, but they're not your people. And you're really being called by the spirit, totem, and power animals, really being called to consider who your herd, who your pack really is, or who you really want it to be. And those are going to be people that you communicate with naturally. That doesn't mean it has to be effortless. I mean, if you've never seen an alpaca spit, which surprisingly, they very rarely spit at humans. They tend to spit at others, like llamas do when they feel threatened or, harassed by another llama or another alpaca. Um, they have kerfuffles. There are kerfuffles in their herds. They don't always get perfectly along, but they're their people, or they're their alpacas, or they're their llamas. And so if you're feeling like your tribe, your herd, your pack, you love them, you like them, they're nice enough to you and you like being around them, that's fine. But you're longing in your spirit for a more ancient kind of connection, a deeper connection, that's a big message for today. So another thing is that llamas have, or excuse me, alpacas, they don't have hooves like alpaca, like llamas and camels do. They have soft pads very much like a dog. And so what that tells me is wherever you're treading today, um, I just keep feeling this moon energy. It's making me feel very dreamy and romantic and just this whole lunar kind of thing. And wherever you're treading to do today, do so with romance and love in your heart. What I mean by that is this. When I say romance, it doesn't have to be of a, hubba hubba kind. I have a romance with ice cream. God knows if I could marry ice cream, I would. But it's almost like this is it. Okay, you've got to be in love with everywhere you go today, every person that you interact with today, with yourself, with any projects, with any work, with any career related things, with any project related things. It, you've got to be in love with it. And if you're not, if there is friction, then ask yourself why and see if you can't move through that in a space of being in love or being in romantic relationship with. And if you can't today, then consider, can you for the long haul? And if you can't for the long haul, or you simply don't want to, move along. Just move along. Now, you may not be able to move along today. Okay, that makes sense. But you should move along. So, all of that being said, um, it's really about finding the herd that you truly, truly can communicate with and resonate with. Now, that being said, another thing super interesting about alpacas, and I'm being called to that today, is that their fur or their fleece, their fur is actually like magical. It is hypoallergenic. It doesn't itch like wool or some of the other, fibrous kinds of things that they make clothes and sweaters and that shoes, that kind of thing about. And it really it's the second strongest fiber in the world, second only to mohair. Now, what does that mean? I, I'm being told to liken that to your skin. And what that means is whatever is going on in your epidermis, like, stay with me on this, you guys. I know it's a little weird, but that's what I'm being told. The skin that you're in is actually magical. It doesn't matter what kind of skin you're in. It is hypoallergenic, which to me, when I'm looking off this way, I'm being shown a vision of colors of skin. It is your skin, nor should anyone else's skin um, rub you the wrong way in any way. It's hypoallergenic. It is strong. It is, is it impenetrable? No. Let's be honest here. It's not. Neither physically, mentally, emotionally. It's just not. But emotionally and mentally, it can be, and maybe the second strongest. Second only to, I don't know whose else's skin, like alpaca fur, alpaca fiber is the second strongest and mohair is the strongest. I don't know that it's about that. I feel, because I'm deep in the feels, y'all, today. I feel from this gentle, gentle creature and the gentleness of the moon that it it's time to honor not only how gentle your skin can be, but how much it does protect you, even if if you think you're thin-skinned or you're too empathic or you're too sensitive or you're too psychic, you're not too much of anything. It's how you work with that. It's how you interpret that. It is the choices that you make when when you or someone else or a situation outside of you or a person or place, thing, people outside of you are trying to get through that skin for whatever reason, but you can still remain gentle and compassionate and still draw those boundaries, right? And you don't have to do that in a loud way. You don't have to stomp your hoof. You can pad very quietly, but still have that strength. And it's a it's a balance that you're being asked to work with today in that. Now, in uh, in Peru and that whole South American place, there are millions and millions and millions of alpaca, and I love it because they're really, it's not exactly like the cow is sacred in India, it's not like that because they do eat alpaca in some places there and some people do, but they are uh, there are all kinds of special ceremonies in that country, um, to honor the alpaca, to honor everything that they've given us, to honor Mother Earth, to speak prayers to them, because even though, I've got to believe that no alpaca ever walked up to anyone and said, "Hey, Mac, I'd love to be your pack mule. Like, I'd love to be your service animal." I don't think that happened. And yet, they are. They are put to work in places and spaces and just situations they should never be in. I'm very confident they don't want to be in, uh, and yet they are. But in that country, in those countries, they're honored for that. And so today, I'm hearing this for yourself. There is a situation, person, people that have you in a situation you don't want to be in. You didn't ask to be in the situation, you don't want to be in the situation, and yet you're moving through it. And you might even be being of service. No matter how much you don't want to be there, you're not fighting. When you honor yourself for this service, whatever this is, you're not an alpaca. You can set yourself free at any time. You're not an alpaca. Your mantra today may be, "I'm not an alpaca. I want to set myself free." I bless them. I wish them well. I hope I've been of good service, but now is time for me to stop being held in a place that I do not want to be in. Period. Period. And what I'm being shown is when I see this in my psychic eye, I know that that means whatever the smallest component is. For instance, you may decide, true story, a few years back, there's I don't even know if they're still there, but there used to be a deli here called Jason's Deli. It's a chain. And one day this old boy just drove his car. He didn't do it on purpose. He just literally made a mistake. He gunned his motor and he was in drive instead of back up. And he went sailing through the window at lunch rush through one of Jason's Deli's windows. Killed one lady, injured a few others. It was awful. And I happened to know somebody who said, "I was standing in line at lunch hour and I got the eeriest feeling and I did not want to be in that Jason's Deli anymore." And I chalked it up to my being annoyed that I didn't want to stand in line. Actually, she was listening to her spidey senses, and she walked out and bloop bloop with her car and was opening her car door at the same time, well, that the car went crashing through the window of Jason's Deli. Now, that seemed like a small thing to her at the time, and yet it turned out it very likely saved her from epic injury, of many kinds, mental, emotional, physical. So you're being asked that whatever is coming to you today, however small it may seem to you, please act upon it. Please listen to your spidey senses. Please tap into that moon energy, because lunar energy is extremely intuitive. So I hope that was helpful. Pick up your copy of the Archanimal Spirit Animal Oracle, and it's my tarot deck, y'all. Just pick up a coffee. Please get on over to gatheringofmystics.com, because that's the only place that I'm going to be answering questions. giving the help. I will try to get to YouTube as much as I can, but gatheringofmystics.com is my forums. I've got to corral everybody into one place. And I am trying to keep up with everybody, but it's free to register. They're my personal forums. It's a very, very safe place to be. Please get over there. If you've got any questions about today's reading, or anything you might have questions about, or you might want some insight on, which is different than asking me for a reading. I want to help everybody at every minute, but I can't. There's too many of y'all and only one of me. And I love you very much for listening to this message, for working, getting in closer alignment with your spirit, totem, and power animals. And as always, what's important? To do good for animals, including yourself, and stay wild. Gently today, but stay wild.